What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Black Friday, a new horror comedy that has Bruce Campbell as well as many others. Now, I saw the trailer for this movie a couple weeks ago or so. I hadn't heard anything about it before then. So it's kind of just popped out of nowhere and decided to come out right before Black Friday, obviously. Now, we have stars that are all over the place on this. Devon Sawa, which has been making a return to cinema a lot lately, and he has been doing pretty good, actually, is in this movie. We got Bruce Campbell, Michael Jai White, and a few other casts that I'm not familiar with. Ivana Baquero, Ryan Lee, and others. So what is Black Friday? Well, aside from being the mating ritual of a capitalistic society, it is actually about a toy store full of people who have to fight off parasitic hordes of shoppers. Now, this movie is directed by Casey Tebow, who is actually one of the directors who's done a lot of work with the Black Veil Brides, Aerosmith, Tech Nine. He's done another horror comedy movie as well called Happy Birthday previous to this. So this is his second feature other than the documentaries he's done. We also have writer Andy Griskowiak, who is writing for this movie, and he has worked on this TV show called The Dreamers. He's actually only written one episode in that whole thing, although he did work in the art department, probably doing some of the props for the show. So he's pretty new to the writing scene. Maybe he's done some other work, but I didn't see any. So what did I think? Well, I mean, first off, when I saw the trailer, I was pretty excited to see Bruce Campbell. Everybody loves Bruce Campbell and his campy, king of camp, attitude where he's just kind of a douche and kind of an awesome kind of guy and mixed into one like sleazy character. And, this isn't that movie for him. It is Bruce Campbell, and it is Campbell-like, but it is not going to be the big Bruce Campbell-y movie that you're thinking of. In fact, the main character in this movie is actually Devon Sawa, who has been making a return to cinema as a lead cast recently in some movies like Hunter x Hunter, which if you saw that movie, he plays it legit, and he's actually really good at it. Here, he's obviously doing a little bit more of the comedic side of him, which is what he started out with in the beginning of his acting career. We also have Michael Jai White, who obviously was in movies like Spawn and many other movies, but it was nice to see him back on the screen, and to be honest, to see these three together, just these three, should really pop. The writing needs to be really strong for this type of cast. I feel like this movie was written probably before they got the characters in this role. Maybe they were like dream characters that they wish they could be in there, but I feel like their characters were just okay. Like, I feel like for these actors, these characters should really pop. And it's not that they didn't do what they were told to say here in this movie. It just felt kind of lackluster as far as these actors go. You can't just throw any old actor that everybody loves into a big movie and just have all these actors and then expect that the movie's going to be good. We've seen this time and time again, and it doesn't always work. Now, is that the case in this movie? I'd say this is above average type of attempt at a horror movie where a bunch of people get attacked by a bunch of parasitic creatures. This actually deals with meteorites in this one. It's not really spoilerific. It's just a different twist on, what people may think this is a zombie movie. This is a meteorite that crashes to Earth and infects people in different ways and does different things in the story, might I add, which I appreciate. There is some gore, there is some blood, but not a whole lot. Most of the effects that you're going to see is going to be the prosthetics that they wear. They have their heads sort of bubble up and sharp teeth in some things. These things transform. Now, for a horror comedy, I was hoping for a lot more comedy. It is a campy film, and it is going to be campy. So if you like campy movies, you're going to be fine with this because it is just kind of run-of-the-mill camp. And I really feel like they could have made this more than just that. Something like Cooties did, which, kind of dies off at the end, which most of these horror comedies sort of just wind down in the comedy department by the end of the movie. But it still did a few things that made you laugh out loud in the movie and had some really well written jokes. This one feels like it's just kind of average. There was a couple of moments I did laugh, but not as well as I wanted to, as well as it could have been, as well as it probably should have been. The creatures and things like that are in this movie that they fight off and ward against are pretty fun. There is some obvious like jokes about Black Friday and everything like that in here, but it's not like overdoing it and like making it like a Christmas movie where they have to kill people with lights and stuff like that. Although there are some things in the movie that kind of lean towards, obvious store materials laying around that they have to fight off everything with. There's multiple different types of characters, including one guy who has like a fear of like diseases, and he is a germaphobe, and that plays into the movie a little bit too. Bruce Campbell's character is actually not as big a character in this movie. He's more of a side role, but he's in there. It's just not the way you probably were hoping for, but he does his job. Michael Jai White, surprisingly, I really wish he could have gotten more parts in this movie, and I feel like he could have been like a really funny part in this whole fucking movie. He does say a few lines that are kind of funny, but I just feel like he could have been utilized more, and so could Bruce Campbell. But, everybody shares the screen on this movie, some that are even on the cover, including the sales assistant that Bruce Campbell has. So I just feel like this is a little underwhelming for a film. It is kind of along the lines of what I expected. A little bit above average, obviously, because of the cast, but underwhelming because it feels like they weren't utilized well. But with the high note on the fact that they did something different, instead of just being like a zombie film or something like that, they used the meteor, which I'm totally fine with. That explains everything for me. I don't need anything else to explain to me. I'm a fan of like the Creep Show where the green moss goes all over Stephen King. I'm a fan of the Blob from 1988, which is also a meteorite. Well, no spoilers, but you get it. And just, there's just a ton of movies. The Killer Clowns from Outer Space is another movie that has like a meteorite that crashes to Earth. So it's just one of those things that I really enjoy, and I thought that it was nice to see in here. While it's not exactly the most, underused thing, it still is something different, and what they choose to do with the creatures and what they do by the end of the movie is kind of fun. There is some CGI by the end that, take it for what you will. How are you going to pull this off without it? It just, you can't. And I had no problem with it, really. I was kind of hoping for it to do a hell of a lot more. But anyway, at the current rate right now, what I am feeling about this movie is that it's a fun movie to watch, but it's nothing that's going to blow you away, where they put in a few characters in a weird situation. Stuff happens. I'd give this movie a 5.5 out of 10, maybe a 6 out of 10. It's pretty much what you would expect. Nothing extra special other than the creatures, and it's got some cast that we enjoy. This one felt a little more splotchy in some of the areas that these things were happening, and it's like the camera cut away a couple of times, which kind of disappointed me. But, this isn't a huge budget movie, although some of the people in the reviews were saying it was, and I'm like, no, it's definitely not a big budget movie. There are some actors in it that have been in big budget movies, but that doesn't mean that this movie had a lot of money to deal with. So I wouldn't mind seeing another movie by Casey Tebow in the future. I mean, I don't think it was the best written right now for Andy Kraskowiak, but this is his first project where he's actually doing a feature film. So I was just hoping for a lot more. But what did you guys think? Did you see this movie? It's out now for rent. You can rent it on digital, and I'm sure it'll be coming to Blu-ray or something like that. This one hit the theaters this past weekend and finally is out on VOD. So if you want to rent it, check it out. It should be up on any of the digital distribution right now. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I've included the trailer so you can check it out if you've never heard of it and see for yourself. But thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.